I'd like to introduce you to Samir Osmanagich, which is an anthropologist. Samir, we are very honored and glad that you give us a bit of your time since we see that you're really busy. Please, could you first tell us a bit about your background?
Yes, gladly. So my name is Dr. Sam Osmanagich. My PhD is about the Mayan pyramids. So I'm an expert in pyramids all around the world. I have written 18 books about the ancient civilizations and pyramids. For the last 17 years I've been running the most active archaeological site in the world, the Bosnian pyramid site. I've traveled the world extensively. I have visited the most pyramids on the planet, megalithic sites, stone balls, dolmens, and other ancient monuments.
Magnificent. And the first thing you could say about all these megalithic structures, what could be the first thing you could say to somebody that is totally ignorant about those things?
We have been programmed to think about the pyramids as tombs for the pharaohs. There are 155 pyramids in Egypt, and not a single one has a tomb or the mummy. The pyramids have not been built for the dead people, for kings or pharaohs. The purpose of pyramids, the oldest, the biggest, and the most superior pyramids, was to amplify the energy. The pyramids are energy amplifiers, the pyramids are energy machines. And this energy had been used for the communication, for the health protection, for the improvement of the molecular structure of the water and the food, for the improvement of our auric field, our chakras, for the immunity, to clean and clear the atmosphere, to develop our spiritual senses. In other words, the pyramids were used for the living communities, and they were supposed to last thousands of years. These are the results of our investigation here in Bosnia. Back in 2005, I first came to the Bosnian town of Visoko to visit the local museum. But what really caught my attention was this hill, as everybody called it, with the four sides, four triangular faces, four corners, the same slope from bottom to the top, and the perfect orientation to the cardinal points. It was more than obvious that it had very regular geometrical shape of the pyramid. Now, pyramids in Bosnia have been covered by soil, vegetation and forests for thousands of years. And people think that pyramids has to be obvious, like those in Egypt. But have in mind that Egypt is in a desert. The climate is totally different. Sunny, no rain, no greenery. But the pyramids in China, Bosnia, Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, Belize, they've been in places with a lot of rain, and they've been covered by soil and forests. So, in 2005, I started this project as one individual, physical person. In 2006, I established a non-profit foundation for the archaeological and scientific research. And in the last 16-17 years, every year we've been attracting hundreds of volunteers to our sites, dozens of experts from different fields. It has become the most exciting project in the world. What we have discovered so far is the pyramid complex of 6 pyramids, which we name the pyramids of the Sun, Moon, Dragon, Earth, Love, and the 6th pyramid. Then the tumuli complex. They are about 5 kilometers from the place where we are sitting right now. The tumulus in archaeology is an artificial conical hill. The most known is, of course, the Silbury Hill in the UK, but this one is a little bit bigger than the Silbury Hill. And we have discovered 6 entrances to prehistorical underground tunnels. The first one that we discovered, Rane tunnels, is still the main attraction for the majority of the visitors. And over there we have cleaned 2,450 meters of existing prehistorical tunnels. In the meantime, we discovered...
Can I ask one question, please? What do you mean about prehistorical? What's the time
When it comes
range?
to the age, of course it has to be based on scientific research. We have performed 28 radiocarbon and uranium-thorium analysis, and everything is pointing out to the age of 29,200 years. So we go back for 30,000 years.
So it was before the big flood.
It was much before the big flood. What they teach us in schools is that during the Paleolithic times, so 12,000 plus years, there were no advanced civilizations, just the primitive cavemen. However, many sites in the world show us different story. For example, Yonaguni monuments on the bottom of Pacific floor near the coast of Japan, much more than 12,000 years. Göbekli Tepe, more than 100 megalithic circles in southeastern Turkey, more than 13,600 years. Machu Picchu, the first structure, more than 50,000 years. The oldest pyramids in Southeastern Asia, Gunung Padang in Western Java, 28,000 years. The first pyramids in Teotihuacan in Mexico, more than 12,000 years. And finally, Giza pyramids, they are not only 4,550 years old. The fourth dynasty, Cheops or Khufu, Khafre or Khafren or Mycerium or Vicarinos, they did not have knowledge, engineering skills to build such huge structures, to transport millions of tons materials, to move hundreds of tons granite blocks from Aswan, which is 869 kilometers to the south from Giza Plateau. They were built much before the flood. How do we know that? Well, the whole Giza Valley, the whole plateau, has millions of seashells. Those seashells are results of the flood, because Giza is 180 kilometers from the Mediterranean Sea. So it was flooded at one point in time. And not only that the Giza Plateau was flooded, but also the pyramids. When El Mamnoon, 1200 years ago, went inside the Great Pyramid of Egypt in a violent way, he discovered sea salt and seashells at the base inside the Great Pyramid of Egypt, meaning it was already there during the last flood. So what we need to do, we really need to move that time scale when it comes to the advanced civilizations. The history of humans is not evolutionary, it is cycle after cycle after cycle. We simply live in the last cycle.
After what I hear, it clearly appears that there was another species of mankind that is not us, that was the builder of all these old megalithic sites.
When it comes to the megalithic eras, we have several of them. The last one was between 5,000 and 8,000 years back, but there were many more before that. In Europe, for example, Stonehenge, Jaybury Hill, Karnak in Western France, Anund Shog or Alestenar in Sweden, and so on. It was a result of megalithic builders between 5,000 and 8,000 years. But then there are some other sites that are much older. Machu Picchu, I did mention, Tambo, and the others. What we know when it comes to geology and global catastrophes is that the last one was 12,000 years, around 12,000, maybe 11,700, maybe 13,500, maybe it was several episodes. But before that, it was another one, 18,500 years ago. Before that one was 34,000, huge solar flames that were burning the surface of the planet. Before that, 55,000, some type of the chemical warfare and
chemical warfare.
yes, and 75. So that was the end of the first era of the Atlantis.
So that's around
Atlantis has
60,000 years ago.
55,000.
55,000.
And the first one was 75,000 years back with a huge volcanic eruption in Indonesia. So, just in the last 100,000 years, we have had 5 civilization cycles. So what they teach us in schools is wrong. They are telling us we are product of evolution, we were monkeys before, apes, today we are intelligent men, and then in 21st century we are the most technologically advanced and the most intelligent and the most beautiful. Well, we are not. We are simply the product of the last cycle. And we will not last for very long, because our planet has a natural cycles that are much, much stronger than our technology. So, at one point in time, in the near future, 99% of humans will be extinguished at that time.
Professor, I have a question. Many ask themselves, since we think that the universe is so vast, there is not a chance that there was no other form of intelligence and life beyond our solar system eventually, or other dimensions. Do you think that could be linked to all the species we live there, or it's not linked, or what is your opinion about this?
When it comes to the builders of some major archaeological sites, including Bosnian pyramids or Egyptian pyramids or first pyramids in China, 12,500, or Machu Picchu, 55,000 years, or Göbekli Tepe, 15 to 18,000 years, or the others. Obviously, there was an advanced civilization built. You go to Easter Island. Easter Island is in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, in the middle of nowhere. On this island, you have those huge stone heads and stone bodies, Maui. You have megalithic walls, the same like in Peru, which is 4,000 kilometers away. You have stone balls, stone spheres from volcanic stone, and you have Rongo writing. Not a single similar thing around Polynesian islands, Micronesian islands, or Tahiti. It looked to me like this was an episode. Like somebody landed there, did their thing, construction work for 20 or 50 years, and then they left. The same thing goes for Göbekli Tepe. They teach us in schools that you had to have big civilization, agricultural and so on, so you have some extra food, extra wealth, and then you can start building your temples. Well, you go to Göbekli Tepe, 100 megalithic circles, and not a single residential house. Build it for who? So the historians, archaeologists, they hide information for the general public if it doesn't fit their narrative. Science is not there to confirm with somebody's position or somebody's theory or somebody's PhD from the past. Science is there to bring us a new information. So, what we have here, when you asked about different species, when it comes to those builders, in science we need to have, again, answers based on scientific arguments. Whether they were humans, it's possible in some of the previous cycles. A previous cycle, it can mean that at one point in time, for 100 or 200 years, people had access to spiritual knowledge, and from spiritual knowledge you can get the idea how to shape, how to move, how to lift, how to get info about elements of sacred geometry, about specific frequencies of energy, and so on. So it don't have to be science as we know it today. It can be spiritual science. It don't have to be cranes like we have today. That's, by the way, very primitive way of fighting gravitational force. If you have a block of 100 tons, you have to invent crane of 200 tons capacity to lift this block. Imagine that you do it in more intelligent and more sophisticated way. You find a way to neutralize gravitational force. It can be through the ultrasound or frequency of electromagnetism. So there are different ways to build. There are different ways to obtain the knowledge. So yes, it is possible that there are humans, the same species like us, Homo sapiens or Cro-Magnons. Then, is it possible that somebody else came and helped us, or did it and we witnessed it as the humans, or they simply did it for themselves? Of course it is possible. Is it possible that there are some other forms of life in the universe? To think differently, one has to be really stupid. To think that we are the only intelligent species in this vast universe. I mean, how many billions and billions of star constellations? How many billions of galaxies? Before they were saying there are 100 billion galaxies, 100 billion. Now they are saying probably there are 400 billions. Who knows how many? We can see one universe. Who knows how many universes? And imagine they are telling us that God has created only us as the intelligent species in the whole universe, or in the whole universe of universes. And the way He did it, or she did it, the God creator, they did it that way that they used their form and they created us. If this is the truth, then God has a real bad day. So, the point is, there are many different forms of life. What you hear is the mechanization. What we are doing in our beautiful park, we are building 2 tennis courts. So we are busy right now. So many different species in so many different dimensions. We think this is the only one that we can see. What we can see is such a small range, those 7 different colors. Imagine that we can see more. Our picture of the world would look so much different. What we can hear, only from 20 Hz to 20 kilohertz. Everything about 20 kilohertz we cannot hear. Some of the animals, cats, dogs, they can hear a little bit more. Their world is totally different. They can hear so many things. But we don't hear 50 kilohertz or megahertz scale or gigahertz scale. We don't hear almost nothing. We don't hear anything below 20 hertz. We don't hear 10 hertz or 5 hertz. That's infrasound. Our physical senses are so limited. And we still think that we know so much about the world. There is the whole world, 99.9999999% bigger outside our physical realities.
The ability
So
to
imagine how many
see things or hear things.
how many different dimensions that we are not aware of. How many different beings, energy beings, spiritual beings, extraterrestrials, inner terrestrials, so many different beings. And we will never be aware of all of them. So, one has to be open.
Mr. Professor, coming to the groundly matters, because all you say is magnificent and so true to me anyway, is to be clairvoyant. You work on those pyramids. How is it going on now actually? Are you supported by the government? Or will help you to go further in your research?
I have established non-profit, non-government foundation for the archaeological and scientific research. In order to do archaeological digging, you have to get a permission. You obtain it from the Ministry of Culture, Regional Ministry of Culture. This is what we have to do on a yearly basis. You have permission for 1 year, you work, you submit the report, they approve the report, they issue next permission. This is how it works. This is the law. Since we have not been receiving any money from the government in the last 15 years, we had to find creative ways. One of the ways was to open the project for the volunteers from all over the world. Every year from June till the end of October, during the 5 months, we receive hundreds of volunteers. For example, during the normal year, up to 2019, we would have 450, 500 volunteers per season. Meaning, in any given time, 50 people would be volunteering here for a week or 2 weeks. 2020, 2021, the crazy corona years, we would have about 100 volunteers because those who wanted to come, they didn't want to get tests or vaccination. They could not come here, so we had only people from the regional countries like mostly Serbia or Croatia, Macedonia, Bosnia, and so on. But still, 100 people a year is not bad. That's one way. The other way is we charge visitors to visit our Tunnel Ravne and to visit the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun. It's more like symbolical price, but it does help. We sell some souvenirs. And then I've been having my business in the US, Houston, Texas, for 27 years, and I have been the biggest donor of the project. So the project consists of, like I said, 6 pyramids, 6 tunnel entrances, and a huge network of those tunnels. The Tumulus complex, a beautiful park here. Then we are building touristic infrastructure, the parking lots, the roads, and so on. So the government, municipal government, and regional government are coming in with some symbolical amount, which is not bad, so they understand that this is much more than archaeology or science. This is also energy aspect, this is spiritual aspect.
Of course, because what you are talking about right now questions exactly all our scholar knowledge worldwide, and that's maybe why there is so much resistance to get into a field that is much wider.
Well, when you are coming with some new discoveries in any field, there is a resistance. People who are already there, they want to keep the status quo, they don't want changes. It doesn't matter if it is music or culture, archaeology, science, math, politics, corporate world, media. The bigger the discovery, the bigger the resistance. Now imagine you change the world's history in little Bosnia by little non-profit foundation, by one little man. Many circles don't like that, especially elites. English elites, lately German and American elites, they know. They've been controlling the history, therefore they've been controlling the present. Now imagine a little foundation with no control, they change the history. The biggest pyramids, the oldest pyramids, the first pyramids in Europe. Pyramids are not tombs, but they are energy machines. They were not for one dead body, but they serve the humanities. And we could use that knowledge, the different concept of energy. Listen, if pyramids amplifies existing natural sources, natural frequencies, it's beneficial energy. The energy of the pyramids, 28 kilohertz, beneficial. Energy that we use, this cell phone, this mobile phone, is 4G in Bosnia, 6G. Before 3G was 2.4 gigahertz. 5G it's 29 or 38 or 60 gigahertz. 6G, 300 gigahertz. These are radio waves. Microwaves work at these frequencies. Microwaves causes cancer. So, what we make up the frequencies, so bad for us. Frequency at our home, 220 volts, 50 hertz. You touch the loose wire, it kills you. We made that frequency. We made, nobody, we were not supposed to do that. Why didn't we use 24 volts? 24 volts, it won't harm us. So it seems to me like somebody in the last 150 years have been making up those frequencies to harm the society. Instead of using unlimited source of energy, the one that's shining on us right now, every day we waste 99.9999 energy of the sun, every day. Instead, what we do, we harm our planet. We take the coal, thermal power plants, dirt industry. We explore, and we get the oil and gas, limited resources, and all the dirt industry is based on that. Refineries, petrochemical, pharmaceutical, food industry, water industry. Wherever they have additives, wherever it becomes industry, it means they've been poisonous. Or nuclear energy. Go from Chernobyl to Fukushima back. They still poison us. They contaminate the planet on a daily basis. And this energy that we produce, not you and I, but the big businesses, the big corporations, the elites, this energy is very expensive. Based on that fact, what we have here is we have 2,500 super billionaires who control more than 90% of the world's resources. And more than 90 people live from paycheck to paycheck. So obviously something is wrong. Imagine this society. You use the pyramid energy and you use the solar energy. Not through those expensive solar panels, of course. So, clean, unlimited, and free. In that case, the whole architecture of our society would change. We would have social equality. Only because of the energy. So, story about the pyramids is not the story about another archaeological discovery. It's a story about our future. And it's up to us if we are going to accept it and embrace it. Or if we're going to be listening to mainstream media and if we're going to agree with everything they say.
Professor, what you say is so meaningful to me and to everybody that I hope is going to listen to this speech, and we're totally on the same frequency, I could say, because your vision is so clear and well announced. So thank you very much for your time, and so we demand everybody to be volunteered here, to come here to help with his hand, with his heart, with his energy, because that's how we're going to change the world, by being together, united on one vision. And that's what Mr. Samir told us right now as our elder and a great man who has risked his life, everything he had to follow his own values. So be yourself, follow your values, don't follow what you hear.
Good, very nice. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We are very, very glad to have heard you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your love, your knowledge. We're going to pass it to the most people we can. And we're going to come and help also.
All right, that's great.
Thank you so
much.